Baarle, my favourite little town in the Netherlands and Belgium. Huh? Where is Baarle exactly? Well, let's look at it on a Google map. As you can see, the international borders are widespread in this area. Those thick grey lines that you see here on the map there, those are international boundaries between the Netherlands and Belgium. These borders don't seem to be based on any patterns of land usage, with some of them going through housing districts at odd angles, and some through properties, homes and businesses. Moreover, there isn't a single Baarle. Rather, it's just a shorthand way of saying that there are two Baarles. First, there is Baarle Nassau in the Netherlands, and then there's Baarle Hertog in Belgium. The area is, broadly speaking, in the Netherlands, but Baarle contains 22 Belgian exclaves within the Netherlands in or near Baarle, and those exclaves in turn host a small number of Dutch second-order exclaves. That is, there are 7 pieces of the Netherlands surrounded in full by pieces of Belgium, all of which are surrounded in full by the main territory of the Netherlands. All of these exclaves can also be considered enclaves as well. It gets confusing. So, how did this situation come about? It all started in the 12th century, 1198 to be specific, when Hendrik I, the Duke of Brabant, gave some lands in what is now Baarle to the Godfried of Schotten, the Lord of Breda. Hendrik kept some of the lands from the region on which he was collecting rent and gave the rest to the Lord of Breda. The land that Hendrik kept became part of Belgium. The lands he gave to the Lord of Breda became part of the Netherlands. The Belgian-Dutch border was a mess, including lots of borderlands, when Belgium was first established by the Treaty of London in 1839, but most of the irregularities of this kind were streamlined in 1843, 4 years later, when most borders were clarified in the Treaty of Maastricht in that year. Baarle, however, and some of the other border irregularities in the region were not addressed in the Treaty of Maastricht. Baarle remained a total mess until 1995. Between 1839 and 1995, the Baarle area was considered something of a borderland, with borders poorly marked, and it seems many people didn't actually know which country they lived in and worked in until October 31st of that year. I'm going to start this video on something of a sad note. Baarle is part of a rural region, with agriculture being a large part of the local economy. Unfortunately, this area, like many others of its kind throughout Europe, is in a state of demographic decline. When I got off the bus in Baarle, the first thing I saw was te koop, which in English means for sale. Sadly, if you come to Baarle, you will see lots of te koop signs around the place with the occasional te huur, which means for rent. Now, I don't know if I pronounced those right. Maybe if somebody speaks Dutch wants to criticize, go right ahead. This building is also te koop. I don't know if it's part of the same lot as the building in the previous picture. If you look to the lower left hand side of this picture, you will see a line of crosses dividing the pedestrian path at an angle. You will also see a square containing the letter B. Harder to see in this shot, there is also a square containing the letters NL on the other side of this line. This is an international boundary line, one of perhaps a dozen miles of international border in Baarle. The B denotes sides that are in Belgium, while the NL refers to the sides of the various borders that are in the Netherlands. Note, as I said previously, seeing NL could mean that you are in or looking at the main territory of the Netherlands, or it could also mean that you are in one of the Dutch second-order exclaves. I decided to walk a short distance from the bus stop towards the centre of the town. This involved crossing from Belgium, from the bus stop, into the Netherlands, where the building was te koop, and back into Belgium. One thing that you will find on any international boundary crossing into Belgium is tobacco stores, advertised simply as tabac. Evidently, tobacco taxes are dramatically lower in Belgium than in the Netherlands and in France. Baarle is no exception, and there are at least a couple of tabac stores in Baarle Hertog, the Belgian parts. At this time of the evening, though, the tobacco stores are closed. Remember this about Belgian tobacco because there will be a better example later on. I didn't venture further towards the town centre at this point, though, because the first place I wanted to see was the district of Leuferen. This has some of the weirdest borders in Baarle, but not the weirdest, as we will see. As you've seen from the last image, having come from this junction down this street, I had to cross from the Netherlands into Belgium. And if I cross the street at this spot to continue on, could cross from Belgium back into the Netherlands. The observant among you may have noticed a couple of things by now, which I should explain at this point. Firstly, you may have noticed lines of studs in the streets, continuing from the lines of crosses in the pedestrian paths. As you might imagine, these metal studs in the street signify international boundaries, but where the ornate cross lines in the country and country initials are only used on the pedestrian ways. Secondly, you may also have noticed that the international boundary lines seem to appear and run at random, and even cross both property lines, in some cases cross through buildings. This is surprisingly common in Baarle. Many buildings have international boundaries going through them. In a case like that, the region uses the Voordeur-regel, excuse me if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, which literally means front door rule, to determine where a property is located for the purposes of applying laws, providing utilities, and also to which government the resident or business must pay its taxes. Usually the Voordeur-regel works well, but there are a few anomalies where even the Voordeur-regel fails. And we'll get to those. So I'm following directions on a map to the Leuven area, and along the road, the resident of this house has a bizarre display outside. I couldn't read some of this sign as the top part had folded back, but that which I did record, Google Translate didn't help make any sense of what I could see. I typed all this into Google Translate and it came back with the following. Note that where I say something, it relates to the part at the top I cannot read. The sign says, "The cat has in the something, but with his wife. She has not finished behind the net. Congratulations on your husband, Marlois Renz. Have fun with your stoi poisel." If anyone speaks Dutch and could illustrate just what, in the name of all that is holy, the author of this sign was on about, please leave your comments and your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. They must really have wanted people to be aware of their message, and all the Dutch speakers that saw it probably were. This is the Leuven district of Baarle, and it's one of the places where the Voordeur-regel falls apart. Wikipedia cites this as the only known example, but there are 3 that I know of, and I photographed them all. You may notice that the 2 door number signs, one on each side of this building's front door. This is because the international border goes right through this house's front door. As such, it has 2 addresses, one in Belgium and one in the Netherlands. I don't know which jurisdiction this homeowner pays taxes to though. Because this place has 2 addresses, and if you knew the people who own it, you could probably send them 2 letters, one to 2 Leuven, Baarle Hertog, Antwerp, Belgium, and a second to 19 Leuven, Baarle Nassau, North Brabant, the Netherlands. Of course, I don't really recommend doing that, unless you actually know the people who are there. The local authorities seem to have set up a tourist trail here, the Enclave route. This route is suggested by the Belgian tourist authorities. Leuven is near the town limits. Here you can see end-of-town signs for both Baarle Nassau and Baarle Hertog, though at this point you are leaving Nassau. After visiting Leuven to see the house that fails the Voordeur-regel, I decided to move towards the commercial centre of the town. Along Pastoor de Katerstraat, as you can see, there are more border shenanigans en route. Another shot along Pastoor de Katerstraat. Further along Pastoor de Katerstraat. The junction between Pastoor de Katerstraat and the Molenbaan. Here there is a second order enclave. That is, a piece of the Netherlands within a piece of Belgium within the full territory of the Netherlands. Here are a couple of snaps of Molenbaan. The border crosses and runs along Molenbaan a lot, but it's quite poorly marked along that route. This is the Baarle Library and Cultural Centre. According to Wikipedia, it has 2 entrances, one in Belgium and one in the Netherlands, but I only saw entrances to this building in the Netherlands. Further along Pastoor de Katerstraat, going towards the town centre. This is one of those areas where Google Maps gets it wrong, though as you can imagine, it's easy to get a border wrong somewhere in this town. This border actually goes down the street for a little bit, but according to Google Maps, this border just crosses the street here almost straight. More weird and wonderful borders on the way to the town centre. This is one of the weirdest things ever. This building is that of the local Belgian police. but one of the borders is between the building and the street, which is in the Netherlands. I really wonder, if you're a Belgian policeman just outside your Belgian police office and you see someone committing a crime on the street, in this case the parallelweg, can they do anything? Or if a crime starts in one Baarle, but the suspect flees into the other Baarle, can the cop chase them into the other jurisdiction? How exactly do they police this town? I genuinely don't know. If anyone understands how the two Baarles are policed, leave a comment below. This house is te koop, for sale. Going towards the centre of town, this border goes through a parking area. This car has 3 wheels in one country and 1 wheel in the other. This is a Zeeman store, a clothing retail chain based in the Netherlands. The border goes right through the store, but the Voordeur Regel works here because the front door of the store is in the Netherlands, so legally the store is Dutch. At the top of this road there is a nice burger bar called Snackbar de Tourist. It's in Baarle Hertog, but it's surrounded on most sides by Baarle Nassau. The Voordeur Regel doesn't rule so clearly here. In the town centre, this art gallery has the border going through the front door, so it's in both countries. This is a close-up of the door of that art gallery. This shot is in pretty much the commercial core district of the town, and as you can see, an international border is never far away. As I may have said previously, these borders were first established nearly 1,000 years ago, but they had become unclear over the centuries since. In 1995, the borders in Baarle were redrawn, and this plaque commemorates that event. Google Translate gives me the English for this text as: Last limit determination. After more than 150 years, the official establishment of the enclaves took place in Baarle on 31 October 1995. The bronze palette in the pavement has been unveiled on this occasion. I guess that will be the plaque in the pavement below, at the bottom of this picture. Alas, I did not think to get a better picture of it. One of the reasons, other than the tourism draw, that I suspect the locals don't mind the crazy borders, as they are Dutch but with the benefits of having a little bit of Belgium. Belgium permits the sale of fireworks most of the year, whereas in the Netherlands you can only buy and transport vuurwerk on something like 3 days a year. But if you live in Baarle, you can buy fireworks in your town year-round because part of it is in Belgium. Another reason the Dutch probably don't mind the messy borders, at least the smokers, is that Belgium has vastly more liberal tobacco sales laws. Nederlandse tabak, Belgische prijzen. You don't really need to speak Dutch to figure out what this means. Dutch tobacco, Belgian prices. This store was totally shuttered, but there was another tobacco store closed but displaying its wares, that I will now show you. This tobacco store was also closed, but you can see it offers tobacco quite cheaply by European standards. Gigaboxes of 35 cigarettes for €8.70. You can also get large bulk boxes of tobacco for varying amounts, ranging from €33 to €60. I've never seen tobacco offered to the public in such amounts anywhere outside of Belgium. More from the same store as the last picture. Buckets of tobacco, really cheap. €33 is about $40 or 27 British pounds, roughly. Safe to say, if you're trying to kick a tobacco habit, Belgium is probably not the best place you want to move to. Still in the town centre, I guess this is an apartment building. It has a narrow hallway, but it widens out to 2 front doors. A border runs between the 2 doors, so the people who live here can claim to live in either Belgium or the Netherlands. This is a wider side view of the building just shown, showing the border markings on the pedestrian path just outside. And finally, an exterior front shot. The car hides the border markings in front of the building, so you don't see it in this shot. This is the art gallery referred to earlier. It was closed throughout my visit, but the owner must have been hanging around with the door open in the evening. They continue the border markings inside the building on the floor, unofficially of course. You can see the combined line turning slightly towards the left as the proprietor continues the line inside their premises. One imagines the continuation is more for decoration than anything else, as not the official boundary line. Lastly, I saw a hot air balloon passing overhead as I was concluding my visit to Baarle. It was moving quickly, so I had to use my mobile phone camera instead of my better camera. The town is also well served by banks from both jurisdictions. In Baarle Hertog, I saw a KBC bank, that's a Belgian Bank, and in the Netherlands, the Dutch part, I saw an ABN AMRO.